morning. It's a week 12, and we're approaching slowly final exam. In quiz, there is a quiz 2 that's supposed to be this week, so I will open it probably tonight, and it will be open for entire week till Saturday next week. It will be 3 attempts as before. 15 questions, 15 minutes. Questions from the same pool as final exam. Compared to midterm, it will additionally contain questions about Angular, since we spent a lot of time on Angular in the second half of the course. So essentially, it's a content of the midterm plus questions about Angular. The same about quiz 2 and final exam. Final exam practical part theoretical part will contain 20 questions instead of 15, and for 20 minutes from the same pool. For final exam will be on Tuesday, because Friday, I believe it's even, we don't have classes on Friday, so there's no choice. It's on Tuesday. It will also contain practical part. In practical part, I will ask you to write Angular applications that display JSON data coming from web or from file, I will say. But anyway, it will be displaying JSON data. It will have only one page for simplicity, unlike assignment that we had, where you had 2 pages, and assignment 3, 2 pages, assignment 4, even more than 2 pages, right? And again, our first part, it will be similar to quiz, but there is 20 questions, not 15, from the same pool. Practical part will have write a program that display JSON data, not as JSON, obviously, as a page built from JSON data, and it will be only one page. It will not have multiple pages due to limited constraint. You have only 2 hours for both things, quiz and application, and you may need debugging time. So this is why many students will finish earlier because they probably lucky, because they well prepared, which is another good reason, right? So it started to work without mistakes, and others will spend time debugging that. And definitely debugging skills are super useful. Otherwise, it will be impossible to do. If in many scenario we don't write program that works right away. We always have to look for our own mistakes and fix them. So this is rationale. Speaking about additional questions about Angular, I posted slides that are a brief review of Angular, and the questions in the quiz are about the content of the slides. It's not the exact copy, but quite close. If you did assignment thoughtfully, like assignment 2 and assignment 3 and assignment 4, most likely you can answer questions without looking through slides. But since you have 3 attempts, you can always try first attempt. If you don't like results, study more and do second attempt. So quiz will be 3 attempts. Final exam, it's only 1 attempt. It's similar quiz. I will not ask you to write code. It's only true-false questions, so MCQ questions, assuming that you understand it. Please prepare for both, especially also for practical one, because for quizzes also you need to prepare, because questions are not easy to guess unless you study or have practical experience with it. And our practical part also requires preparation, especially because learning how to do it in class, it's too late. So you need to be aware how to do it when you come. So you have time only to write the code and debug it. You don't have time to learn. Our practical part, it's open book, open internet. You can use any source of information that you like. It is explicitly not allowed to use code written by other student or kind of code generation, kind of code generated by artificial intelligence. So you're not allowed to use those engines. Unless it is code generated by IntelliJ, because sometimes you type it, it gives you some choices. So obviously, you cannot avoid that. And sometimes the choices, what it gives to you is not smart, so you have to analyze before you say you accept what is a choice, because sometimes it's just garbage, essentially. It's not even logical sometimes. So this is an overview what is coming for today. I plan to discuss two things, and it's already related to what you know, and have some kind of coding together practice that will take probably an hour and a half, and this will be end, including this introduction is also like already 15 minutes into the class, plus break, so this is what will be. So it is related to what we learned before, and I plan some coding together exercise with reminding stuff. So what will be starting point? It is example that we type it in class, most of it, and I edit code later in explaining that code. It is edit some minor code later and explain it. It is my dice game that was done from scratch in the class with explanations, and at some point I said, okay, finish it, and I will finish this and explain my version, and I did so. So this will be starting point, and what we're going to do. This application is generating code locally. It's not getting data from internet. Previously, we had example written in pure JavaScript, this one, that is has a Java. No, so it is actually two pieces in one project. It is Java code that is serving data from the database in-memory H2 database. And it also has a pure JavaScript that is getting the data from the data server. This part doesn't have it. It's generating data locally. It doesn't have server-client structure. So the goal is just to add this feature here to Angular, so it will ask data from this server. So make client integration into existing server. So again, this is exercise. Obviously, it can generate random data in Java's pure TypeScript. It's exercise of sending request to data source like service, getting data and displaying it. In addition, compared to previous requests to get data, it also sends parameter of the request number of dice. So it is sending number of dice to the server and gets results of the roll from the server and displays it. So this will be the first part of it. And second part is to make data store it in a browser. So when you bookmark the page, you go there, you see the data, what was last generated. Or when you click reload button, it will not lose the data, which is not the current feature of this one. So this will be a second goal for today. And if we run out of time, we will finish it later. Speaking about these two features, asking data from the server and storing data in the browser. These are technically two separate parts for separate purpose, right? One, it is to create data persistent in the browser. Second is to retrieve data from the server, right? But what if you want to maintain local copy of the data that you received from the server? So in this case, two pieces are integrated, right? And you will see today when we build these two features, it is not necessarily obvious how to integrate these two features. Technically, it's not difficult to do. We can always do brute force, and eventually it will do work. But you will probably realize today when we do this brute force exercise that, yeah, it's got to be a better way of doing it. Because task of retrieving data from the server and storing this locally, it's not specific to this program. It's all around, right? When we, for example, go online, like some social media applications that running JavaScript in the browser, it sends request to the server, gets the data, and data is stored locally. So when you scroll up and down this news feed, it will not ask server, please give me data again, right? Storing data locally that you received from the server is quite common task on web. And they are one of the first people who need it, right? It means there are solutions already for this purpose. And we will talk about these solutions in the next week to some degree. One of the solutions in Angular is to use a NGRX library that is designed to integrate these kind of tasks, retrieving data from web, storing this locally, displaying this data, and also updating data stored locally and sending new requests to web. So it is design of this library, and NGRX is to maintain and synchronize data between server and local copy and interactions of the user. So we're talking about storing and updating local state of application. Who took Android course probably encountered this issue in Android application development, and it's not Angular specific, and it's not Android specific. It is web specific. If application is interacting with some server through web, it needs, most of the time, it needs to maintain copy to avoid huge traffic or waiting for data reloading again and again. And different applications or different frameworks use slightly different approach depending on the framework or language used. Angular is one of the way of doing this in Angular, popular way, is to use NGRX library. It is somewhat requires learning curve, so it's not straightforward at all. If you plan to write large application, it's definitely a reasonable investment of time to put into that. To put, say, your time into learning how to use that framework, because it's like a framework inside of the framework. Unfortunately, we don't have a even close amount of time to learn this piece. So I plan some introduction in the next week for using this part. Today we will not use it, but we will see how this issue arises, at least. When we have local copy, when we have web, that we can do it brute force, but there are frameworks to do it, say, not automatically, because it does require more code, definitely, to organize code better. So this is a kind of introduction to what is coming, or at least what is available around. So first, since we will modify this program, and this program will use this server, so let's open the server. If you didn't clone it, please clone it. If you already cloned it, it is the same code. It is the DICE roller server Java Spring Boot, this one. So I will open from hard drive because I assume that you already cloned it. We talked about it probably week 6. No, let's see, week 7. Okay, week 5. Yes, DICE roller service, it is the same. Just I remove it word Java in the title. It was in week 5, discuss it in week 5. Let's open that, DICE roller service. Open, or just clone it. Projects. Okay. When you open the code, you will see it has a controller that is sending data if we send GET request to roll dice address, localhost 8080 roll dice. What is the data? Roll data. And what is the roll data? It's an object defined in the class, in this program, that contains number of dice, result of the roll, and total. So this will be sent in response to request sent to localhost 8080 roll dice. We discussed it in week 5. But in addition to the server that is serving data, we have a client written in pure JavaScript with jQuery. That is sending the request when we press button on the page. Receives response and displays the data. Where is this client? Client is inside of JavaScript. You see JavaScript modules have local storage, role data, and main. So this is JavaScript program that is sending requests and displaying data on the page that is received. No, on the page, received data on the page. Since it's Spring Boot and HTML plus JavaScript, we need to go to localhost 8080. As you see, unlike Angular program, it starts with something on the screen. What is this something? It is not stored in a cookie because we also have a version of this code where it was using cookie to store and templates. This is not template. It's pure JavaScript. There is no template engine in this code. This is stored in a browser, and first thing this JavaScript is doing is to check if there is stored data. If there is stored data, it is displaying it. So this is how it behaves. It didn't send any request. So this server is displaying logs of this behavior. Currently, I just say that server started on port 8080. If we send click roll, it will send a request to the server. Server will generate data and put log here, so we will see that some activity happened. So let's change this to 4. Click roll. You see number of dice 4, so it received the request with number of dice 4, generated data 6, 2, 3, 1, total 12 for the number of dice 4. And this is what was received, 6, 2, 3, 1. It is received back in the JavaScript, and JavaScript edited document 3. Now we have it on the page. So this is the essence of the example that we talked about in week 5. Okay. In addition to Angular program, first of all, this is exchanging data with the server. We have Angular applications that doesn't do it. Today we will change it to exchange data with the server. In addition to that, this program is also storing data in a browser. It means when I click reload button right here, it does not lose data. See? If we do this manipulation in our Angular program, this stuff will disappear. Why? Because this restarts JavaScript. In our Angular program, storing data in variables. If you restart program, variable values will be naturally lost. Right? This program, of course, it's storing data in variables, but it's also storing in local storage of a browser, which is file, right? Found some files. So when program is restarted by this piece, it is checking if there is stored data. And if there is stored data, it loads it and displays it. So unlike Angular program that we also have, this is storing data in a browser. So when you reload this page, it just reloaded stored data, so data is not lost. So this feature is missing in Angular. No, not in Angular, but in our Angular example. Today, one of the goals is to add it. Okay? So it will not lose the data when click reload button. Also, if we bookmark this page and go back to the bookmark, it will show this one. because when you go back to the bookmark, it will load index.html. Index.html will load JavaScript. JavaScript will check if there's data in the browser. If there's data stored in the browser, it will display it. And so it is not just for reload, it's also to make bookmarks more meaningful. Of course, if you go to this bookmark after cleaning data in the browser, you will lose the data, obviously. It's because it's not stored on the server. Okay? So that was quick intro into this program. Where data is stored, it is stored in local storage. And again, there are choices to store data in the browser. It's one of the choices. So when we go to more tools, developer tools, we will see that click application, local storage, localhost 8080, you will see this is the data. Exactly this data. You see 6231. Okay. And local storage, it is key value storage. You see dice values, this and this. It appears like it is specific to port. No, actually, it's not selective to port. It is specific to server, localhost. Okay. This, okay. So what is API? This is definitely JavaScript API because it's the only thing available in JavaScript. Oh no, there are choices, but I use it brute force. So what it is? I created a file local storage JS, and what does it do? I define it key because it's key value storage, and this is key. See key dice values. And how to store any object? First, you need to turn it into a string. And there is API. JSON.stringify, and this is object that will turn any JavaScript object into string. Raw data values is just an array. So it will turn this array into string because raw data contains 3 fields. I could store entire raw data object, fine. In this case, it will be just duplication of like total, it will be also number of dice. But if I store array, it already contains information about total and raw dice. I just need to recalculate total, and number of dice is just length of the array. And how to store it? You use this key and assign it to local storage with the key. That will put it into local storage. How to read it from local storage? You use the same key, local storage key, but remember it gives you string because you put string in there. In order to convert it into JavaScript object, you call JSON parse. It will create you that object that you store it as a string. And you store it array, so you got array out of it. Remember that our raw data is not an array, so we need to convert array to raw data. In this program, raw data is a class, JavaScript class. In our Angular program, it is compatible interface. So what it is here? We have constructor with values total and number of dice, which is just assignment on it. And we have a static method that takes array, calculates total, and calls the constructor. So in order to convert array to this object, I call this static method that will calculate sum and call the constructor. So in local storage, I got this array. I call that static method to get the object. Also, how to check if something is saved. If you call this piece, unfortunately, it will create empty entry, so it is there. You cannot really check it. The easiest way to do local storage get item, and when it returns null, it means it's not saved. So when it is not in null, it means something is there. So I use it as a Boolean function to check if there is something saved. So it is, as you see, it's brute force approach. There are libraries wrapped around it, but this is the brute force, this is the slowest level API. And when we have a simple program like this, it's probably the easiest to do. Okay. So today is just our exercise to get this ID into Angular program so it is saving the data so it's not losing it. So it's not fancy approach like in GRX where we have synchronization between different things done by library. Right, so this is one of the things, and second is to make this interactive with the server. So I will stop it now because this server, I now keep it open. Because this is not what is we will do first, right? So I will stop it from running, and now I will open Angular program that we had before. But I will clone it because I already added stuff to it. But yeah, you will see. So we will clone it. So let's clone my dice game. I will show what is added. It's not big deal. So let's clone it as usual. Copy. And when we clone, let's make sure that it's not writing into the folder that is already there. Okay. A file, new get from version control, and we need to change to this folder, Command V, my dice game, Angular, Command C, Command V. It says already have this object. I will remove word Angular. It will be just my dice game and say clone. New window. Okay. So we have after cloning we run npm install. So by default, it opens into main because this is default branch. So let's run it. Localhost 4200. So as you see, it's not showing some data because doesn't have any saved state. And the program is set it up that it's not running when you open it. It will run when you click roll button. So when we roll, it will be a roll, roll, roll. When we change 4 to 5, roll, roll. When we go to history, it is this. When we go back, it will lose this one because this is not saved. Technically, we could go into history and read the top thing in the history, but this is not part of the program. So this program is not saving current roll anywhere, although it is added to the history, and potentially it's possible to retrieve this variable from the array, because this goes to history. It's not done in this program. And definitely, if you reload this piece, it will also lose the history. So when you go to history, you still have history. When you reload this piece, reload applications, definitely history is lost, because history is also array in the memory. Assign it to a variable. And so today, his goal is just leave history alone. Yeah, it will be lost, but at least fix roll. So I'm not aiming to change history. You will see that storing history is exactly the same, because stringify is able to convert any JavaScript object into string, and string can be assigned to local storage. So approach is not more complicated. It is exactly the same API, because history has array of objects. You can convert them to string, assign it to a variable. This is it. I just saving time not doing this second time. Okay. I will just store it for the first. And also, maybe learning this a better way in the next lesson with NGRX. So it's a goal, actually. I will see if I can make short explanation for it. It's probably a bad idea. But for today, we're just looking into basic API. So this is a dice game. First, let's, obviously, when we retrieve data from a server, we will have to deal with delay. Remember how did we handle delays? When we send HTTP request, by calling method HTTP get, this method returns you immediately something, some object. But this object is observable, it's empty. Why? Because data didn't come yet. But calling get functions should not freeze execution of JavaScript. So it gives you observable object, and you set observer that will be notified when data comes. And what is observer? Is an object that contains lambda functions that will be called when data comes, or just a lambda function that will be called when data comes. This program does not have such feature. It is calling get data from data generating service in Angular, and it gives you data right away. So it doesn't have the observable wrapper. So in order to use server, we need to change GUI to make it compatible to the fact that data is delayed. So it is not just retrieving data differently. It's also changing GUI in such ways that it is compatible to delay of the data. Okay? Compatible with delayed data. So where data is coming from in this Angular program? In APP, dice roller service, we have generation of the data. We have function get raw data that give us raw data object. And what raw data object? Number of dice, array of values, and total. So this is the raw data object. Okay? As you see, it is data compatible with that JavaScript object. So we can apply the same logic in order to convert it into array into object and backwards. Okay? So when GUI is calling this function, it will get raw data immediately without delay. So we have two goals right now. To get data from this server and to change GUI compatible with delayed data, because now GUI is not compatible with delayed data. So let's address it step by step. First, to make GUI compatible with delayed data. It means I need to create some method that give observable to GUI. And a GUI will set observer to it that will update the screen. So I'm solving this transition into two steps. First, I will do GUI compatible with delayed data and see if it is compatible with delayed data. And second, instead of locally generated fake data, I will ask server to give me the data. All right? So first, I will create a function method that will pretend receiving data from the server. It will give observable instead of raw data. It will give observable that contains raw data. So let's call it differently. Let's call it get server raw data. Get server raw data for the given number of dice. So number of dice is a number. And it will return observable of raw data that contains raw data. I need to import observable. And this will return object that here. So I need to create an object which is observable, potentially containing raw data. Okay? And when I use this in GUI and GUI works, it means GUI is fine, right? And after this, I will need to change this method to get data from the server. Okay? So return, I need to create observable object, a new observable. Just calling. Okay. So what does it give me a choice? give me choices to create constructor with this observer with lambda function, right, as a parameter. Given as observer, and this observer will receive the data. Right? So how to handle it? So I'm just creating fake imitation of data coming from the server. Right? So observer am I right? Arrow, I'm missing arrow. And so this is observer of coming raw data, right? So I need to add next data to the observer. See, observer next gets raw data for the number of days. So what did I achieve? I created observable object with inserted data from the calling raw number of days. So it's not getting data from the server, it's imitating getting from the server. Right? But it will contain the data. Okay? So next step is to use this function instead of this in our GUI, and if it works, it means I can replace this part with actually getting data from the server. Okay. So it's two-step transition, right? So let's go to dice roller and change GUI such way it is calling this function. Not dice display, dice roller. Dice roller component HTML, you see it is displaying raw data. If this is coming from observable, I don't need to change it. So I will just change TypeScript to avoid changing this type HTML. So I go to TypeScript, and you see this one is used inside of HTML. And for simplicity, I decided not to touch it. So I need to assign this variable from the observable. How to assign variable from the observable? We need to set up observer on it, right? So I'm going on roll dice, and instead of asking data from get roll data, I need to get data from this dice roll service, right? This dice roll service get server data, right, for this number of dice. This number of dice. And this gives me observable and not data. So in order to get the data, I need to subscribe to it. In simple case scenarios, to use lambda function, right? So that would be raw data result, but this is a result is raw data. That will be assigned to raw data, right? So this raw data receive assignment of the result. Okay. So I subscribe it with lambda function. And this lambda function is assigning this result, what I will receive it, into raw data. I also need to unsubscribe. Why? Because on each roll dice I'm creating subscription. So let's store this subscription and call unsubscribe. So let's create some variable to store raw data subscription. So raw data subscription, raw data sub table. It's either subscription or undefined, because before you assign it, it is undefined. Okay. When you call subscribe, this is called subscribe. It is creating subscription object. So I will assign subscription object to this variable. So these dots raw data subscription is assigned from the result of the subscription, this one. So it is this one. Then when data is received, I need to unsubscribe. But when? When it is received. It means that I'm unsubscribing within the lambda function here. It means I need to do curly braces and include unsubscribe into these curly braces. Because I unsubscribe and I receive the data, I don't need to watch it more. Okay? So I put curly braces around this part, put semicolon, and I will do unsubscribe after I receive the data. It means here, right? So I will do this raw data subscription, and I have to use question mark because it could potentially be still undefined from the browser point, from the compiler point of view. And I call unsubscribe. Because you see it's declared either subscription or undefined. So compiler is not able to figure out that it is already assigned by subscribing. So I use question mark. If I remove question mark, I guess it will not compile, you see. So for compiler, just to make it compile, I need to put question mark. Because for the compiler logic, it is potentially undefined. Right? So after assigning raw data, what should I do? Add the raw data to the history, right? So I'm do this. This raw data history add raw data, and I could just say result, because this is shorter, right? I added the result to raw data history. Why it is unsubscribing arrow? No, it's not. It is here. Technically, it could be also an arrow, but yeah, no. And I will delete this one because it's already is replaced by this part. Okay. So what did I achieve? I made my GUI compatible with delayed data. So I asked data from the method that gives me observable of potentially raw data that will come later. And when data comes, it will be this result of the subscription that is assigned to raw data, added to the history, and after this, I'm unsubscribing. All right? So let's see how it works. So I will stop it and run to make sure it's running the latest code. Five. Okay. See, it's working. It is added to the history, so it's working. And next step is to ask data from the server. So it's not imitation, but it's actually from the server. So in order to get data from a server, we need to add HTTP client. We need to make it injectable. So I need to edit part of the which part. I need to go to config and make HTTP client injectable. I will need to add it to providers. So I need to add provide HTTP client. This makes HTTP client injectable. Import provide HTTP client. And next, I need to create constructor in the service to inject HTTP client. So I can call get method of the client. Okay? Are you with me? So I made HTTP client injectable. Now I'm going to, yes? That's a question. Now I'm going back to my service, and I will change this code to call data from HTTP client. Right? But in order to call HTTP client, I need to make it available inside of the class. That means I need to do injection. Easiest is to do constructor, but you can inject into data field. So let's do it for fun to inject it into data field. We didn't do it so far, let's do it. Okay? So how to inject into data field? You need to declare variables or private HTTP. You can say what it is, HTTP client. And how to do injection? You call inject. HTTP client, but you need to import inject. This is it. So we can inject into constructor or into the data field. So this also works. Okay? So now let's check that it works. Okay? I'm replacing this code. So I will copy it out. And now I call HTTP client, give me the data. Return this HTTP client, get, and what do I expect? Raw data. Okay. From what address? I need to give an address where I send the data. Send request, get request. So what is address? In this program, we use it. Look it up. Don't remember. Localhost 8080 / roll dice. HTTP localhost 8080 / roll dice. Okay. I didn't send number of dice. It's just extra step of complexity that we'll do. So we do incrementally. So now if server will assume give me default number of dice. So no matter how much I select in my GUI, I will always get 3 because this server sends 3 dice by default. You see default value for parameter number of dice is 3. Okay. So I will get 3 dice. Okay. So what will it return? It will return observable that will contain raw dice, raw data. Now let's call this function and see if it is indeed working. Okay, so I will stop it and run it. Okay, open localhost 4200. This selects by default 4, but server is always 3 because we didn't send this 4. Okay. Didn't work. Why? Good point. So let's check. HTTP get raw data, raw dice. We have to figure it out because it's not working, right? So what to do? Go to more tools, developer tools, and open console. Console. Here it is, console. Connection refused, connection refused. Roll dice, connection refused. Do you know what is going on? I have no idea. Now I have idea, because server is not running. This is the reason why it cannot get data from the server, it's not running. And connection refused is probably given by a Windows itself, because there is no server on this port, so Windows was some firewall on the Windows, say connections refused. So I need to run the server in order to get data from the server, obviously. So I need to run it. So that answer was easy. I cannot get data from a server that is not running. And now I'm going back to here and try to do it. Let's do it again. I need to reload it, maybe. Just let's see. Strange. Okay, let's see in console what it says. Dice roll a component unknown error, roll dice. Okay, false. Let's see. Blocked course policy. No access control to origin. A header is present on the service resource. Course policy is fine, 4200. Let's rerun the program. Something. I will rerun dice roller service. Okay. And now I will stop it and run this one. Okay. Let's open it. Still has a shoe, which is interesting. Now it's not complaining. Let's check it, what is wrong with it. Get raw data from this address. Does it receive requests? No, it didn't, because it shows when it receives request, it shows here. Let's send request from a browser directly. Let's see. Localhost 8080 / roll dice. No? It is, address is wrong. API, you see on the top, API, roll dice. This is why it's not working. API / roll dice. Now you got it. So it was the wrong address. I see this is, And you see server is showing that it receives the data. Okay, so I was just sending a request to wrong address, and obviously it was not received in the right place. Okay, so of course when something goes wrong, you have to figure out by checking, right, manually in different places. All right, so let's restart the client and see if it is working. So what is the issue? It's always 3, right? But of course, it's always 3 because we didn't send this piece at all, right? So we need to send it inside of the request. So we have to edit this function call to send number of dice. So we need to provide additional parameters that tell parameter number of dice. You see, it tells me option that there is a second parameter when we can, so this is called options, when we can say params, number of dice. But every parameter is a string, but number of dice is a number, so I have to convert it into string. Okay. So this parameter, second parameter, first it is address, URL, and second parameter of the get is options. All right. So let's restart it. And see if it is receiving. See, we receive it 4. And server, where's my server? Say, receive it 4. So before the break, we'll added functionality to this code, so that is retrieving data from the server side. Next step is to make data persistent, so when we click reload button, this doesn't disappear. Well, you already saw this feature in JavaScript program. It is just doing local storage without fancy things. So let's just move similar logic into Angular program. So in Angular program, we typically separate business logic from GUI using services. So let's create service specifically to store the data. Let's call it maybe a raw data store service, raw data store service. Why not? So let's create a service that will be injectable object in our program for client. So where's our client? This one, dice game. So let's go to terminal and call nggenerate a service, and let's give it a name, dice roll store. Roll data store. Let's call it roll data store. Roll data store, to store all data. When we want to store history, probably it's not a bad idea just to have a separate service because of separation of concerns. It's totally different issue. It's also about storage, but storage of different things. So why not? Maybe it's a good idea to keep it separate. Okay. So I'm creating a service to store all data. It gives me raw data store service, which is injectable, so I can put it there. So what should I move here? I already have a code, so I can carefully copy paste it, but keep in mind that that was pure JavaScript. I'm copy pasting to TypeScript, so I will add types to make it nicer. Also, it was functions, but I copy paste them into class, so they will become methods. So there are some conversions. So let's do it. So I'm going here to dice roller service, and I open local storage. I already explained this part in the beginning of this first half of the course, so let's do careful copy pasting. So I copy this part here, and you will see that it complains. First of all, even you copy this part inside of the class, const is not available. Const will be inside of a method, but not here. So equivalent would be, instead of const, it will be read-only. In type, in this case, it's string. If we want to be explicit about type, so it is string. We can leave it as it is, or we can also make it private. Because it says locally use it, so it makes sense to make it private. We can also make it static, to make it kind of shared between objects of the same kind, but it's that extra, essentially. Next, let's copy save, but since it's not a function, it's a method, we copy just this part. Right? So copy, I'm copying save, paste. We don't need constructor in this case, so I can just delete this constructor. This part is unhappy because first let's declare type. Second, let's import it. Import raw data. Okay. It's not returning anything, so we can just say explicitly it's void, which is fine. This is unhappy because we need, this is a static variable, so we need to prefix it with the name of the class, raw data store service. Raw data store service. Okay? So this is converted. Next, let's go to the next method and do the same conversions. So I'm converting load. Paste. Load is returning raw data. Okay. Let values, these values will be array of numbers, right? Array of numbers type. Parse storage, this key needs prefix name of the class dot. So it is raw data storage or data store service dot. What is this? This is taking array and making object out of it, right? So I need this kind of logic here. So I will put it right here. So I need logic from this method. And this method is inside of raw data, this one. So I need this part. I calculate sum, and sum is a number. From each value of values, I will do sum, so this will be result. So I will return an object that will contain number of days, which is number. And this number is equal to length of the values, right? So it will be values dot length. This object will also contain values themselves, which is values, right? And total, which is sum. Okay. So I converted load. All right? So what is next is to convert this one. You save it, right? So let's do it. So since it's method, we also can copy this. We do copy function. Copy. And this goes here. Paste is save it. It is returning Boolean type. It's also needs prefix in front of the key, like this raw data storage service. Raw data storage service key. Now I convert it to save it. Since this business logic is wrapped in the service, I need to inject this service inside of my component that will call it, right? So let's go to component and inject raw data store service. Dice roll a component, and this component is using constructor injection, so let's continue doing it. And inject raw data store service. We'll just do shorter name for it, like store service. Service. And type is raw data store service. Store. Raw data store service. Now, what is the logic of it? Inside of the constructor, I need to check if data is saved. And if data is saved, it is assigned right here. Right here, right? So first thing in the constructor, when we display stuff, if data is saved, I will do assignment. So if this store service is saved, data is saved, raw data is loaded from the store service. See, this is artificial intelligence is helping. Right? I typed similar code yesterday, but it is not the same code. It's actually intelligent in this sense. So next, I need to close this one. It's not end of it, because this raw data contains number of dice. Right? So I need to update also this number, because it is last roll and number of dice cannot not necessary for. So I need to synchronize this to the screen. So number of dice, so this dot number of dice is raw data number of dice. Now it is going here. All right? And next, I need to store it when I receive it. So in addition to add it to history, I need to call save on storage. Okay? So this data service save result. Okay? So it's a brute force approach, and it's possible. You see, it's not big deal technically. It becomes big deal when we have long program with lots of cross references. It becomes big deal when we have bigger stuff to manage, obviously. Okay, so let's see. I will stop it and I will run it again to make sure that it is running the latest. Remember it, right? So let's roll. Let's change it to 2. Roll. Reload. See, it's not losing data, but definitely it lost history because we didn't save preserved history. We didn't have service to preserve history data. Yeah. So of course we can add it. By analogy, and it's not difficult by analogy because we can stringify any JavaScript object and assign it to local storage key. Just use different key, obviously. And this will work just fine. So as you see, approach works. In simple case scenarios like this, it's not a big deal. And it's definitely more complicated if you want to do fancy things. And there are options for the store available in browser. For example, you go to application, and besides local storage, you have other ways to storage. You see, you have, and this is for specific one, extension storage. You can do IndexedDB, you can have other things, including cookies. So it is one of many things available. Local storage is just one of many things available. Okay. And of course, fancier requirements require fancy approach. It was just a demo. Any questions? So this is the way I want to end. End exercise. I will definitely commit it and send it. So let's create branch. Can call it server and storage. Why not? Let's create branch. I will select everything, and I will create branch git. It is from main. This is main. This is two separate pieces using server and using local storage. Does it make sense to keep it separate? You see, it is easier to change, put it together. I was just experimenting and created two separate pieces. So let's create this using server and storage. A new branch using server and storage. Using server and storage, create one and commit. Use it the local storage and server. Okay. And again, if data that comes from server is fancy, this is to brute force. Use it the local storage and server. Let's commit. Here it is. I will probably delete these two pieces later. It is the same thing, but in two different pieces. So now we have 15 minutes till end. Technically, this is end. I don't have other instructional parts. So let's, I will quickly talk about these slides. These slides are just overview of things that you already know from many sources that we already discussed in class. And look up, just quickly look through. Before doing quiz, or just do quiz first iteration, just to know what actual level is expected, and look through slides after that, or just ignore slides, it's up to you. If you get 100% on the quiz, you don't need to look into slides, obviously. Slides is just basic overview of Angular. I talked more about Angular than on slides in class. Okay. So if no questions, I will just wrap it up. Okay. So I will stop recording.